On the night of Christmas Eve, Felicia dials Peter's number, only to remain in silence after he answers. Quietly hanging up, she finally wishes Spider a Merry Christmas. Alone in her apartment, she reflects on how a year ago, she thought they'd spend this holiday and even the rest of their lives together. That was before she realized her bad luck powers were putting him in danger, resulting in her decision to make the sacrifice of never seeing him again. But he broke up with her first, robbing her of that noble gesture and leaving her with nothing but ashes. After retrieving her long-neglected costume, she decides that putting it back on will be her Christmas present to herself. Then, changing into the black cat and leaping onto the cold rooftops, she declares that while she may have rejected her alter ego when Spider rejected her, that was temporary, and now, the black cat prowls again. While performing acrobatics across the rooftops, Felicia can't believe she's been avoiding this, declaring that it's better than a 3-hour shopping spree at Bloomingdale's. Just then, she spots a couple of thieves stealing some mink coats from a broken store window. Felicia states that as a former thief, her sympathies are with them, but she needs a workout. Jumping down from the roof, she asks if they have a coat that's her size, and after getting irritated by being mistaken for the Black Widow, kicks one of the thugs in the face. Unfazed as the other thug pulls out a knife, Felicia states with a smirk that he can't sneak up on someone with bad luck powers and then watches as he trips and knocks himself out. Felicia then grabs a few mink coats for herself as the burglar alarm blares, deciding to quickly leave before the police arrive to nab the thugs. However, a few rooftops later, she spots some homeless women attempting to warm themselves by a trash bin. Feeling sympathy, she gives them the mink coats as Christmas gifts, knowing all too well she doesn't need them. Soaring back into the night, Felicia smiles at how she just stole from the rich and gave to the poor like Robin Hood, and figures that it's a decent way to get her kicks. Though she didn't want to go back to crime, she considers how boring the straight life was, and then wonders what Spider would say about this new compromise. Days later, Felicia crashes through a skylight right into the middle of a black market appraisal for a haul of stolen gems. Insulted when a mobster mistakes her for Silver Sable, she corrects him with a kick to the jaw. Then, declaring that she's the black cat as the rest move in for the kill, she snags 2 thugs by their neckties and cracks their heads together, and then uses her whip to snag the fleeing appraiser named Schweitzer, demanding the jewels. Desperate, Schweitzer begs to make a deal, stating that the foreigner's collection makes his gems look like nothing. Startled by the foreigner's name, Felicia dismisses him as a boogeyman and a myth, but Schweitzer insists he's in town and offers his address in exchange for the gems and his freedom. Intrigued, Felicia takes the location, but swipes the gems anyway, leaving Schweitzer empty-handed. As she makes her exit, she decides to fence the gems and donate the profits to an orphanage, continuing her plan of playing Robin Hood, strictly for the thrill of the game. Later, Felicia trains in her private gym while planning to break into the foreigner's office. Knowing he's regarded as the world's deadliest assassin, she considers how this could be her biggest challenge since her breakup with Spider-Man. She wishes she had the nerve to tell Spider about her new Robin Hood career, and knowing that her heist will go straight to a kid's hospital or charity, she wonders how he would react if he knew of her plans. Meanwhile, Peter's life has been plagued by a streak of terrible luck, and suspecting its residual effects from his history with the Black Cat, he journeys to see Dr. Strange in hope that the curse can be removed. From a nearby rooftop, Felicia secretly admires his figure as he swings by, finally deciding that it didn't matter who broke up with who. As soon as she learned that her powers could be hurting him, it had to be over between them. Then, after telling herself that she'd never do anything to hurt Spider-Man, she turns her focus back to the foreigner job, pushing Spider out of her mind, because she's sure that he rarely thinks about her. At that moment, Peter arrives at the Sanctum Sanctorum, claiming that he'll string Felicia up by her cat hairs if what he suspects is true. Soon after, Felicia jimmies open a window into the foreigner's office building, absolutely loving the high-stakes thrill of the break-in. An instinctive impulse makes her duck under the office's infrared security beams before she leaps across the room toward a safe. Just as she begins, a sudden noise forces her into the shadows as a hulking enforcer enters the room. Miles away, Dr. Strange detects that Peter's aura is indeed infected by a bad luck curse, announcing that he may be able to help. Back in the office, Felicia cracks the safe, only to turn around and find the brute towering over her. Entirely confident in her abilities, she goads him on, daring him to land a clean hit on her jaw. At that moment, Dr. Strange casts a spell that completely neutralizes the bad luck aura around Peter, inadvertently erasing it at the source. That's when Felicia is shocked by a powerful blow to the jaw, sending her crashing to the floor. As Peter celebrates his newfound freedom miles away, Felicia lies helpless, realizing with horror that her bad luck powers are completely gone. After the brute reveals his knowledge of the Black Cat, he demands to know why she's raiding the foreigner's safe, but she is too fixated on her broken nose to answer. Held up by her hair, Felicia acknowledges that it's the first time her nose was broken, prompting the thug to sneer that it will make her look tough. Dazed and disoriented, Felicia begins to hallucinate, seeing Spider-Man in the thug's place as he boasts about his strength, prompting her to murmur that Spider's tough guy act is cute. The thug takes advantage of Felicia by kissing her, instantly snapping her back to reality as she drives her knee hard between his legs, screaming that nobody manhandles her. Seeing this, the remaining thugs charge Felicia, but she uses her acrobatic agility to dodge their strikes and counters with a barrage of precise punches and kicks. But without her bad luck powers, she takes a hard blow to the stomach, leaving her winded and aware that her stamina won't hold out much longer. When a henchman lunges with a knife, Felicia disarms him with a sharp kick, snagging the fallen blade as she turns to face the last opponent. With an insane look in her eyes, she warns him that she'll be the only one left standing in a moment. Terrorized, the thug turns to flee, but Felicia tackles him to the ground, declaring the knife her new claw before bringing the brutal fight to an end. Meanwhile, Peter paces in his apartment reflecting on his complicated history with Felicia. He can't shake the feeling that she hexed him over their split. Though he really doesn't want to see her again, he decides he owes it to her and himself to confront her and hear her side. He knows it will likely end in another explosive argument, yet a fleeting thought crosses his mind. He wonders if she still wears that same great perfume. Meanwhile, the foreigner discovers that he was robbed by the Black Cat, resulting in him sending an eager Sabretooth after her and then firing his crew, only for them to all quit on the spot. Soon after, Felicia inspects her broken nose in the mirror, bitter that the entire botched heist yielded nothing but injuries and a single golden notebook. Her spiraling concerns over her vanished powers are cut short by a sudden noise. On high alert, she demands the intruder reveal himself. Looking up toward the ceiling, she prepares to call out to Spider-Man before catching herself and saying Peter instead. Surprised, Peter asks why she'd call him that, knowing how much she always hated the man beneath the mask. Overwhelmed, Felicia throws her arms around him, promising that things will be different now. She swore that if he ever returned, she'd try to accept his normal identity. But Peter gently pulls back, making it clear he isn't back for a reconciliation. Alarmed by her injured face, he asks what happened. Shamed, Felicia stammers that she merely tripped, and when Peter presses her, she quickly deflects by showing him the stolen golden notebook. However, Peter cuts straight to the reason he's there. He had a bad luck hex erased by Dr. Strange, and he came to check if it affected her. Shocked by the revelation, a furious Felicia screams that he is the reason her powers disappeared and takes a wild swing at him, calling him an idiot. Peter effortlessly dodges, sending her tumbling to the floor. Pleading with her, he asks again what happened and begs her to let him help. Felicia bitterly rejects him, spitting out an absurd story about getting hurt at a Tupperware party, their screaming match growing so loud that the next-door neighbors crank up their radio, complaining that the Hardy woman is at it again. Felicia then launches into a tirade, berating Peter for going behind her back, without considering how it would hurt her. She adds that friends help each other, they don't sneak around and do what they want, and feeling utterly betrayed, she finally screams that she loved him. Fed up, an angry Peter turns to leave. Felicia repeatedly demands that he look at her, before finally screaming for him to just get out. Peter fires back that he's going, but not because she said so. He points out that this is just another instance of her hiding the truth because she felt it was best. He bitterly adds that their whole relationship was dead going in because there was never any way he could trust her. Enraged, Felicia shouts back that he not lecture her, calling him a self-righteous creep. As she aggressively chases him away, Peter snaps back that he's gone. But as he swings away, he begins to wonder which one of them was actually in the right. Breaking down, Felicia asks what she did to deserve this, feeling as though no matter how she behaves, she always gets dumped on. When she bitterly asks what else could happen to her, a savage voice growls that she's going to die. Turning, she finds Sabretooth looming behind her, threatening to skin her alive. Keeping her cool, Felicia quietly waits as he closes in, holding her finger over a hidden lamp button wired to trigger a dozen deadly traps. Just as Sabretooth steps into position, Peter bursts through the window to save her, completely ruining her ambush. Furious at his interference, Felicia screams that he ruined her chance, leaving a clueless Peter to reply that he only saved her from becoming a dead cat. With the villain's focus shifting entirely to Spider-Man, the two take the fight out to the street. After the fight, a livid Felicia storms onto the balcony, hurling insults at Mr. Macho for barging in where he wasn't wanted or needed, swearing she'll get even. Exhausted, Peter simply tells Felicia to go ahead before swinging away into the night. Miles away, the foreigner watches the news coverage of Sabretooth being defeated and resolves to handle the Black Cat personally. The following evening, Felicia sets out to confront Doctor Strange in a brand new costume, redesigned to better hide her nose. Sneaking through an open window, she reminds herself that Spider-Man is the reason that her nose is broken, having stripped her powers and left her to fight for her life, and she pulled no punches in the process. To make matters worse, he barged into her fight with Sabretooth, and while she fully intends to get back at him for it, she has a bone to pick with Doctor Strange first. However, her break-in proves harder than expected when a sudden blast of magic blows her right back out the window. After scaling the building again and forcing her way inside, she navigates the second-floor hallway only to be magically looped straight back onto the street. Climbing up a third time, Felicia peers inside to see Strange in deep meditation, just as his astral form materializes outside to confront her. Felicia snaps that she's there to punch his lights out for taking her powers away, but Strange calmly reveals that her abilities were not erased. They merely mutated, and offers to examine her further. Rattled by his ghostly presence and realizing she can't fight an apparition, Felicia makes a swift retreat. Back in her apartment, she sinks into despair, convinced she's a washed-up shadow of her former self, left wondering why she even bothers being the Black Cat at all. Suddenly sensing she's under attack, Felicia snaps out of her thoughts just in time to dodge a lethal throwing star. When she asks the attacker who he is, the foreigner introduces himself, declaring he's here to retrieve his stolen golden notebook. When he asks for its location, Felicia smirks, claiming she had it melted down to trim her costume. Daring him to try and take it, she lunges forward, only to freeze when he suddenly vanishes and strikes her from behind with a powerful blow. Expecting a killing strike, Felicia is stunned when the foreigner casually turns away to grab a drink at her bar. Confused, she asks why he stopped, and he replies that it's a matter of priorities, admitting he hoped for more of a challenge. Felicia snaps back that if he wants a real fight, he should try picking on Spider-Man. The suggestion piques the foreigner's interest, noting that the wall crawler has indeed become a nuisance lately. Just then, the lights go out and Felicia discovers that she can see in the dark, realizing her powers have mutated after all. Using the advantage, she attempts to attack the foreigner, but he simply blocks her strike and counters it anyway, sending her flying out the window. After she snags the railing, the foreigner grabs her by the arm, stating that it was a good workout, and presents a proposition for her, to which Felicia responds that she's all ears. Minutes later, Felicia shares a glass of wine with the foreigner as he finishes explaining his plan that will result in the total destruction of Spider-Man. As he speaks, Felicia is entranced by his hypnotic gaze and his smooth voice, a voice that makes her tingle. With her curiosity piqued, she asks why he wants her help specifically. Gazing deeply at her, the foreigner then admits that he has a weakness for silver-haired women. His confession triggers a wave of conflict in Felicia. Though she thought she wanted to destroy Spider, she realizes that committing to this scheme means that she'd be giving up all hope of ever getting him back. But as she remembers his rejection, she asks herself why she should want a man who doesn't want her in return. Plus, she deserves to have a shred of self-respect. Making up her mind, she raises her glass in a toast and declares that she's in. Clinking his glass against hers, the foreigner promises that when they're finished, Spider-Man's life will be in rubble. The next day, while Mary Jane visits his apartment, Peter stumbles across a stack of old photos of the Black Cat. Tearing the pictures in half, he bitterly declares that their relationship was a fiasco, assuring MJ that Felicia is a part of his life that he's given up. Later, Felicia sits on top of the Roosevelt Island tram high above the water, clutching a box of photos. She thinks of how she's loved Spider-Man and is torn over the dark path she's chosen. Unable to stop thinking of him, she knows she must stop the pain and focus on living her life again. With her new mutated powers enhancing her senses, she knows she should be thrilled and committed to being the Black Cat, but all she does is think of Spider. She tries to hate him, to not think of him, but it doesn't work. They shared too much and were too close. She loved him, and she doesn't know how to stop. Unable to carry the memories any longer, she decides to give their past a burial at sea. Then, throwing the photos into the river below, she states a final goodbye to Spider-Man, declaring that she doesn't love him anymore. But as she turns and walks away, the empty gesture does little to help. Later, when Sabretooth returns to the streets seeking revenge on Spider-Man, Felicia ambushes the villain from behind, announcing that they have unfinished business. She then engages in a brutal battle, kicking and dodging with her enhanced cat-like abilities, as Peter looks down in shock from his window knowing that he must help, whether she wants it or not. Meanwhile, Felicia's main concern is to not be humiliated while Peter is watching from above. She dodges and parries the next attack, while claiming that she's a force to be reckoned with. Furious at having his face slashed in order to build the Black Cat's reputation, Sabretooth tackles her to the pavement. He lunges to bite her leg, only to shatter his teeth against the hidden metal plate in her boot, just before Felicia drives a kick straight into his jaw. Pinning the beast down, she relentlessly slams his face into the concrete until the authorities arrive to apprehend him. Spider-Man then lands on the scene, stunned to see that Felicia brutally defeated Sabretooth on her own. Looking up at him through the crowd, she simply gives him a knowing wink, leaving a bewildered Peter to process the shock that she just risked her life to protect him. Later at the foreigner's estate, the assassin states that he was impressed by Felicia's performance against Sabretooth. When Felicia admits that it was her first major victory on her own, he adds that it was also the first step to regain Spider-Man's confidence in her so that they can bring him down. Felicia confirms that Spider-Man saw the whole thing, and when the foreigner checks to ensure that she's still not his woman in her heart, she confirms she's finally her own woman. Then, leaning in to kiss her new partner and lover, she adds that, lucky for him, she's willing to share. Days later, Peter is startled by an explosion from Felicia's apartment just as he arrives at her residence as Spider-Man. Diving into the building, he finds her lying unconscious on the floor. As he scoops up her limp body to evacuate, Felicia weakly asks him to grab her jacket, before warning him to watch where he places his hand as he swings them out the window. Landing safely next to an arriving fire truck, Peter asks if she's all right. Pretending to be out of breath, Felicia flirtatiously suggests a little mouth-to-mouth, softly calling him Peter. He quickly tells her not to use his real name, prompting her to snap back that he dumped her because she couldn't accept the man behind the mask, yet now she is. In response, Peter clarifies that he just meant not to do it out in public. Just then, Officer Keating arrives, sneering that he's paid to protect citizens from people like Spider-Man and his girlfriend. Felicia quickly corrects him, declaring that she's his ex-girlfriend, and when she adds that she is working on changing that, Peter sharply counters that she is not. Turning her wrath on Keating, Felicia delivers a passionate defense of Spider-Man, thoroughly telling the officer off before urging Peter to swing them away. As they depart, Peter can't help but admire Felicia's grace and beauty, but quickly snaps out of it, asking himself why he's even helping her, a wacko woman who's pledged him her love, but also threatened to do him grievous harm. He then remembers the panicked phone call that brought him here, where Felicia claimed to have received a death threat for being Spider-Man's lover. When he questioned her story, she angrily hung up on him, leaving him apprehensive, but unable to resist a call for help over his sense of responsibility. Landing on a secluded rooftop, Felicia states that they need a place to lie low, asking Peter if he's still living in the rat's nest from before. When Peter defensively insists it's his home, Felicia demands they stay there. Then, challenging him to come up with a better idea, she leaves a defeated Peter unable to offer a single alternative plan. Upon arriving at his apartment building, their path is blocked by Peter's neighbors who are sunbathing on the roof. As Peter grumbles that they always make his entry a hassle, Felicia suddenly screams in panic that Spider-Man is near, sending the terrified neighbors scrambling inside to escape the perceived danger. While Felicia beams over her brilliant solution, Peter retorts that it was stupid. Unfazed, she claims that he's only jealous that he didn't think of it first as he hurries her through the skylight. Inside, Felicia surprisingly praises Peter's apartment and reminisces about taking photos for him, flirting that everything is more fun with two people. Dodging the chit-chat, Peter asks about her next move, suggesting she should find a hotel. Felicia counters that she isn't made of money and insists on staying with him, leaving him baffled since she used to hate it there. Claiming she's grown up, Felicia wraps her arms around him, but Peter tells her to knock it off. Smirking, she pushes closer, teasing that maybe he doesn't want her to stop. Suddenly, Mary Jane's voice calls through the door, causing a panicked Peter to shove Felicia across the room before sheepishly opening it. MJ immediately points out his beet red face, prompting Peter to awkwardly introduce her to the Black Cat, who snidely remarks that she recognizes Peter's actress model friend from a raunchy video. MJ fires back that it wasn't her, but retorts that it sounds like something right up Felicia's alley, prompting Felicia to tell Peter to remind MJ who the real cat in the room is. As Peter and MJ start whispering, Felicia interrupts, announcing she's thought of someone who can help her and demanding Peter leave with her. Eager to escape the awkward situation, Peter agrees, checking that MJ didn't need anything important first. Arriving at the foreigner's office building, Spider-Man openly voices his doubts about whether the man is truly a legitimate businessman. Felicia urges him to just trust her, but their conversation is cut short when a furious woman storms past them into the office, screaming about her two-timing husband. Gunshots ring out moments later, prompting Peter and Felicia to burst through the door, only to find the woman standing over the foreigner's lifeless body slumped across the desk. Inspecting the corpse, Peter quickly realizes the victim is merely a rubber dummy. In a dramatic twist, the woman pulls off her mask to reveal the real foreigner underneath. As Felicia gasps that she nearly had a stroke, the foreigner coolly introduces himself to Spider-Man. He then steps over to Felicia, kissing her on the cheek and calling her his sweet, while saying she's as ravishing as ever. Minutes later, after Felicia finishes her story, the foreigner claims that a criminal named Blaze is the villain targeting both her and Spider-Man. He explains that Blaze attempted to hire him days prior, but he turned the offer down, refusing to do business with crooks. After offering refreshments when his office assistant walks in, the foreigner places a call to Mr. Blaze. Meanwhile, Peter leans in and whispers to Felicia, demanding to know where she met the foreigner and what their true relationship is. Felicia snaps that it's none of his business, urging him once more to just trust her and adding that she could prove in a minute where her romantic intentions lie. Interrupting their hushed exchange, the foreigner reveals that he scheduled a meeting with Blaze, suggesting they go in his place, before smoothly adding that Spider-Man and Felicia make a lovely couple. Peter offers his thanks, promising to let him know how it goes. Later, when the pair arrive at the rendezvous point, Felicia starts to joke around, but Peter remains focused, telling her to cut the comedy. After they burst through the door, they find Blaze coolly sitting his chair, and having expected a setup, he presents them with a video feed of a woman strapped to a chair. After Blaze attempts to blackmail the duo for money with a hostage situation, Peter demands he let the woman go, and learning they can't be seen or heard over the feed, he pummels Blaze through the wall. After webbing up Blaze, they split up to find the hostage. Felicia dodges gunfire and takes down a thug with a crossbow from the building's sporting department. Meanwhile, Peter tragically discovers that the hostage was already killed, learning that the video feed was a pre-recorded tape the whole time. Tracking down Blaze's men nearby, Spider-Man and Black Cat unleash their fury, taking the group of thugs down. Later on the rooftop, Peter regrets losing his temper and going overboard on the thugs. When Felicia approaches asking if he's okay, he answers that he only wanted to make things better as Spider-Man, but they just keep getting worse. Explaining that the bad guys get more brutal and the good guys get dead, Peter asks what happened to the world and what happens when you feel like you're sinking. Wrapping her arm around him, Felicia softly answers that you reach for something to keep you afloat. Then, after she pulls up his mask, they kiss each other passionately. At that moment, Peter surrenders and decides to trust Felicia, at least for now. Meanwhile, the foreigner uses his disguise as Officer Keating to enter Blaze's prison cell and snap the villain's neck. After staging the scene, he calls the guards for help, claiming that Spider-Man broke into the cell and killed Blaze, apparently out of revenge for going after his girlfriend. When the officer states that he'll hate having to bust Spider-Man, the disguised foreigner answers that you just can't trust anybody these days.